So, yes, I'm Jackie. I'm one of the mentors. And I also was in your shoes back in 2011, deciding what program to do, what certification to do. So I can definitely answer why I chose EFT Universe once we get to that Q&A part. And I have a private practice. So I love teaching and mentoring, but I have a private practice in California. All my clients are digital, and that was before COVID. So I see people all over the world, and I specialize in creative goals, entrepreneurial goals, and the childhood trauma that gets in the way of that, like specializing in anxiety. So I do what you guys want to do probably, and I can speak into that career aspect as well later on. So I'm Jackie, and you'll meet some of the other mentors. But let's welcome Dawson. So Dawson was actually the first workshop I went to back in 2010 at Omega. Raise your hand if you've been to Omega Institute ever. Okay. Some of you have gone to the workshop actually. So that's where I went. And it's such an honor to work with you now, Dawson. But he leads the workshops. He is the brain behind this program, but he's the founder of NIIH, so National Institute of Integrative Healthcare. And he's also the best-selling author of Gene in Your Genes, Bliss Brain, Mind to Matter, which some of you have said you've read. He's shared the stage with some of your idols, leaders like Marianne Williamson, Tony Robbins, Donna Eden, Jack Canfield, Joe Dispenza. And they really helped kind of create this course too. So the NIIH's largest program is one of our volunteer programs. It's the Veteran Stress Project, which that offers free treatment to veterans. And because of that, we've been able to have people like you who've graduated volunteer and actually help veterans and help people with PTSD with the EFT techniques. And he's really, and this is so true from knowing you, Dawson, you're truly driven by a passion to give really practical, empowering tools and solutions to ease suffering, whether it's someone struggling with PTSD or a kid who just wants to get over some performance anxiety in school. Dawson's been the primary investigator in over 20 scientific studies of energy psychology and EFT. So all the techniques you'll learn will be based in the science. And twice he's been invited to testify before Congress on these studies. He's the CEO of EFT Universe and this certification, and he manages this certification, which is the largest EFT training organization in the world, actually. We train over 5,000 practitioners over the last few years, and you will add to that number. So his training has set really high standards. That EFT Universe's training is accredited for continuing medical education for doctors through the American Medical Association. If you're a psychologist, you'll get continuing ed hours through the Psychology Association. And if you're a nurse, you can get continuing ed hours through the American Nurses Credentialing Commission. So we're fully accredited. You can get continuing hours at our workshop. And a lot of our students fall into that category. But if you don't, you're also very welcome. And he's played a central role in really bringing EFT and energy therapies into primary care settings like the Veterans Administration and the Kaiser healthcare system in the US. So Dawson, welcome, welcome. We're so excited that you are leading this today.
Well, I am excited to be here. And every day I get up in the morning and I start the day enthusiastic. I start the day thinking, wow, what a privilege to do this work. And then I get to meet with people like Jackie, who are on my team, who are our practitioners. And I realize when I interact with people in this world that we have just remarkable people. The quality of people in our community is so high. And now with the pandemic, of course, we can't have those in-person classes anymore. So we aren't giving each other long hugs, which we used to be known for. But we're focusing on creating virtual community. And it's so interesting that I just did a workshop, for example, on Sunday. And I know some people at the end of that workshop felt so close to each other, even though we couldn't meet in person, they were in tears. They just felt such a sense of connection with other people. So we can feel connected in community and in energy and consciousness, even when we can't connect physically and give each other those wonderful, delicious long hugs. That time will come again. And even though it's not here now, we have this powerful sense of being part of this great wave of healing that is happening in the world. When I first learned energy therapies, I was a teenager. I learned a method called attunement. And energy medicine, energy therapies were so far out there in terms of relevance to the to people and relevance to the healing community. So it was straight conventional medicine that was really what most people used back then. Now, of course, energy therapies have really come to this remarkable place to where in 2013, EFT Universe became the very first organization to be accredited for continuing medical education by all four of the major guilds, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, the American Nurses Credentialing Commission, and also the Social Work Board. So it's just remarkable to have done these things and seen the evolution of our field to being far out there to now having over 100 clinical trials being accepted as an evidence-based therapy within Veterans Administration, talking to many people and training many people in big healthcare systems like Scripps, like Kaiser Permanente. And it's a whole new world. And there are all these people available now who are highly trained and competent in this proven method called clinical EFT. It's called clinical EFT because EFT is not a trademarked term. Anyone can call themselves an EFT practitioner, but clinical EFT is the standard by which most of the research has been done. So what we're training people in is a research, is a method proven in over 100 clinical trials. We know it works. So the tools available now to alleviate human suffering are remarkable. 100 years ago, 500 years ago, even 50 years ago, we didn't have these tools. Now we have them, and increasingly they're part of modern medicine. And the world needs this more than ever. When I meet people in workshops, some of them are suffering so badly. There was one young woman in a workshop who had this really had a set of physical issues, and she was only in her early 30s, but she'd had a really nightmarish experience with a man on a train. And so we worked on her issue called The Man on the Train. And this was a workshop at Kripalu Institute with maybe 50 people in it. And sitting next to her was a lady in her 70s who had a degenerative hip condition. And I'll call her Grace. So I worked with this young lady on this miserable treatment she'd received at the hands of the man on the train. And we tapped through layer after layer of stuff around that, but also went back to her childhood. And of course, it's almost never about the person today. It's almost always about the person when you were 2 years old, 4 years old, 9 years old, 11, who hurt you. So we found those stories and we worked on those stories while the whole group tapped along. And so I worked with her, and she had this huge breakthrough. Eventually she said, you know, that man on the train, to have acted the way he acted must have been really been hurting inside. And I realize that now. So she came to realize that she could hold him in compassion. She no longer had to be the childhood victim trapped in her circumstances. She could look at it from the adult perspective and have compassion toward the perpetrator. So a really powerful shift in her. But then Grace, who spent the whole time hobbling around on a cane, so the whole workshop long, you watched her walk around the dining room, around the hallways. She'd put the cane one step in front of her, take a painful step toward it, a second painful step toward it. She walked very slowly, cane, step, step, cane, step, step. So later that day, a group of us in the workshop were standing around after one of the sessions, and Grace, the 70-year-old woman with hip disease, just walked by. And we waved to her, then we all did a double take, and we asked, Grace, where's your cane? And she beamed at us and said, I don't need it anymore. And we never even worked with her personally. She was just tapping along as she was borrowing benefits from the lady next door to her. It's powerful when you see people who might otherwise have suffered year after year after year, just have that suffering lifted. And you know their whole life will have a whole new trajectory as a result of that. So I see these techniques, and then we, of course, have all the research to back them up, the randomized controlled trials, the systematic reviews, the meta-analyses, all of these ways of showing that what we offer really works. It also helps you and me. I say sometimes to my wife, Christine, How are people who don't have these tools, who don't have tapping, who don't have meditation, how are they even dealing with all the challenges of the time we're in now, right now? We have all these challenges in this time in our society, in our world. How do people even cope with those things without meditation, without tapping, without energy clearing techniques? You need those techniques right now, and people need those techniques. We are in a suffering world. We need to be a healing influence in that suffering world. And in my book, Mind to Matter, I talk about the whole phenomenon of emotional contagion, about how we can be contagious transmitters of love and joy and gratitude and peace. Like my wife and I right now, we're doing a practice of random acts of kindness, and we're planning them, some of them, and others of them we're doing spontaneously. So she'll be home very soon from what she's doing today, and we'll sit around and have a glass of wine and share what were the random acts of kindness he did today. How did we share emotional contagion with those around us? And it's just fun, it's just light to be in that space and not be dragged down by all the heaviness and sense of crisis in the world around us. How do people who don't have our techniques even make it through the day? It's really hard, and we need to be those healing hearts in a suffering world. So I'm often asked on podcasts, radio shows, and interviews how I got going in this field. And I got going in the whole quest for energy therapies by being one of those suffering people. In Bliss Brain, I tell the story how when I was 15 years old, my parents were really poor, they were missionaries, and we didn't have any luxuries at all growing up. Even food was a challenge often. And I remember being 15 years old, and I was kind of hippie back then. I had long hair. I used to carry a bag of books over my shoulder, and I used to wear bell-bottom blue jeans. And I remember I was 15 years old, being so depressed, so anxious, so miserable. And I was at a location with some friends. It was a hotel, and I walked down the corridor, and there was a full-length mirror there. And we didn't have one of those at home. So I turned and stared at myself, this 15-year-old young teenager, in the mirror. And as I stood there staring at my own face and looking at the bell-bottom trousers, looking at the long brown hair, the book bag, glasses, this thought just popped into my head. That's the saddest face I've ever seen. So I realized I had to go fix myself. I began taking correspondence courses at university in psychology. I went to go live on a spiritual community and played with vegetarian cooking and farming and all kinds of other activities, learned the perennial philosophy that underlies all religions. And so I discovered that there were these things you could do that would help you a little bit, but I didn't get a lot happier. It wasn't until 30 years later I made the commitment to meditate every single day. I was in a real crisis at the time, but I did that. Everything changed. I learned tapping the next year. This was the year 2000 and 2001. And suddenly everything about my life changed. And I just discovered I actually had happiness inside of me. And now I'm a happy person. I wake up, I'm happy. My house burned down in October 2017 in the Tubbs fire, in which 5,000 houses burned down. And we had a huge financial crash after that because our office burned down as well, taking with it all our possessions, all our records, everything. We had a huge financial crash. I had to have an operation, had to have surgery after the fire. I mean, it was a, to put it mildly, a difficult year. And what did I do in that year? I meditated, I tapped. And I wrote a book called Bliss Brain, because I was just happy, I was resilient, and I wanted to share it with the rest of the world. I was doing my New Year's Eve resolutions on New Year's Eve in this year with a group of people in San Diego. We were doing a big retreat, and there were about 40 people there tapping, and so I turned to the universe. We all walked the labyrinth at midnight and looked up at the stars in San Diego, and I said, universe, what's my purpose for 2020? And I felt this little voice inside saying, Dawson, I've given you the gift of happiness. Now go give it to everybody else. And And that's really how I wake up in the morning. I feel so grateful we have these tools like tapping, like meditation, like energy therapies that allow us to be truly happy people and change our life story, to go from being that miserable 15-year-old staring in the full-length mirror to now looking in the mirror and saying, 50 years later, I love and accept myself just the way I am, just the way I am. No expectations, with all my human flaws, just the way I am. The world needs this message. The world needs the healing that we bring. And now people are getting that. In the VA, there are a number of VA centers and hospitals using EFT. Since it was approved in 2017, it took us 10 years to get it approved. And I see my friend Crystal Hawk from Toronto is one of the people here. She was the study coordinator of the first big, huge randomized controlled trial that put EFT on the map for veterans. So Crystal, thank you so much for you making that clinical trial possible. And now it is in places. It's being taught in the Cleveland Clinic. We've had presentations in Johns Hopkins Medical School. We're getting EFT on the map. So as we start off now, before I go to the details of the Ultimate EFT Certification Program with you, let's do a quick round of tapping just on tuning out any distracting thoughts, like I'm being distracted by the fact that there's sunlight coming in through the window over here and making these speckles all over my screen. But hey, it's a beautiful day outside here in California, and that's just something that's happening. So that's a distraction. Let's tune out those distractions. Let's tune out things we're worried about and really tune into being here and tuning into our hearts. When I talk to people who are getting certified, and I say, why did you make that decision to sign up for the Ultimate EFT Certification Program? They say it was their hearts. Nobody sold them anything. Nobody compelled them or pushed them or persuaded them. Their hearts told them, you're meant to do that. And I'm not going to sell you or persuade you of anything either on this call or any other time. Either your heart's going to say, yes, I'm listening to Jackie, I'm hearing Dawson, I'm listening to people who've been in this program. We have lots of testimonials of people who made little videos for us. And either you'll say, I heard Carolina, I heard Mike, and I knew the answer for me was, this path is calling me. Or you won't feel that call. You just won't feel it. If you feel it, do it. Tap away the distractions and do it. If you don't feel it, that's totally fine. You will feel your calling when it's right for you. So we'll tap away our distractions now and start with me by tapping on your sleight of hand point. If you've read the fourth edition of the EFT manual, it's now called the sleight of hand point, no longer called the karate chop point. We've really striven to be culturally sensitive in the way we teach EFT. So tapping on the sleight of hand point, and just affirm either out loud, make sure you're muted, or mentally say, I now release all distractions and I tune into my heart. I now release all distracting thoughts and feelings and tune into my heart. I release my worries. I release distracting physical sensations. And I am available to hear the voice of my destiny. My destiny is showing up for me every day. And I hear its voice now. And I release any distractions. Tap on the top of your head. I release any and all distractions in my body, my mind, and my environment. Tap on your eyebrow point. I release any and all distractions in my body, in my mind, in my energy field. Tap on the side of your eye. Let's tap on both sides this time round. I release any and all distractions, and I come fully into the present. Under your eye. I know there are many things that could distract me. I let them go now. And I show up for my destiny. I show up for this present moment. Tap under your nose. Release. Tap on your chin. Release. Tap on your collarbone points. Release. Tap under your arms. Release. One last spot to tap on, side of your hand. I now release all distractions. And I come fully into the present. Stop tapping, take a deep breath. Just feel how your body feels as you're in this space of being fully present, fully here, fully in the here and now. One more deep breath and release. Thank you. So I'm going to show you a quick run through of the EFT certification program. It's well described on the enrollment page. And Jackie, perhaps you can just put that enrollment page in chat. And so all the details are there. But I'm going to go ahead and run through it and show you a few other, share my screen and show you a few other facets of the program and tell you why this is the very best certification program in the world. It is absolutely outstanding. That's why we got that medical education accreditation by the AMA and by the APA and other guilds. One of the features of our program is that it's online. It's virtual, it's online. So you do it all from your home, from your office at your own pace, but we have you go through it at a steady pace. So you're part of a cohort, you're part of a group. This is the October 2020 class, and you're going through it as a group. We start our enrollment period, we end our enrollment period on October 30th, then we have an inauguration party on November 6th. We have regular progress parties as we go along. So we help you stay on track. Every few days, you get an email from me saying, make sure you log in and schedule your next hour of work on the program. So we have a whole lot of ways of nudging you through the program to make sure that you complete the program. You want to make sure that when you sign up, you really do have that intention of completing, and then we'll be giving you encouragement and support all the way along. You'll also be part of a wonderful private Facebook group. And it is about completing and moving through the program, but it's about so much more. People share their personal stories there. People share case histories there. Just this morning, I was in the Facebook group and somebody had a question about a 10-year-old child they were working with and what to do. And they got really good advice from other people in the Facebook group. We also have skills practice calls you get to go to every month, where you actually vote on the topics you think are most important to you. And we'll actually be inviting you to a skills practice call, so you can actually be in this month's skills practice call. Keep your eye on your email inbox, and we'll send you that invitation in a couple of days. So all of these are ways of making sure we guide you through the program. Mentorship is powerful. Mentorship is you having an expert who, after you've done the first part of the online content, is actually guiding you case by case, issue by issue, and technique by technique through all 48 of those clinical techniques. And having this highly trained expert mentor as your guide, reviewing your cases individually and giving you personalized feedback is like gold. This program costs $4,000, and I can tell you that the mentorship alone is worth more than $4,000. If you're getting nothing else and paying double the amount for the mentorship alone, it'll be worth your while as your mentor guides you through the program. So I'd love to know now why you are here. Why did you decide to join this call? I'd love to have you just type that into the chat there and share from me. Oh, and Yingling, there is a payment plan available. It's $369 a month for 12 months. So yes, there is a payment plan available. There's also a scholarship program if you're from a country with a low GDP. So all of those things are available, and your admissions advisor will guide you through that process. Oh, I love that, Karen. I need to be sharing light and healing with the world and feel unfulfilled in my current career. I didn't even tell you about my career before this. I was so unfulfilled. Every year I would say, no, I can't do this another year. Now every year it's like, yay. I did tapping with you. I have Crohn's disease. I'm so glad, Lynn, that it helped your Crohn's disease. It's amazing how, Crohn's disease should be a set of physical symptoms, and yet people say that their physical symptoms are improved by tapping. On our last skills practice call, or maybe it was the one before that, we had one of our nurses who said, I used it with 2 of my patients at an elder care home with Parkinson's. Now, who knew that EFT could help Parkinson's? But she said that their tremors, and they measure their level of tremors. Their level of tremors dropped dramatically after tapping. All kinds of things EFT is useful for. I know when to travel, so the virtual is perfect. Well, Julie, we were going to make you travel, whether you liked it or not, but unfortunately, COVID had other plans. So there's that funny saying that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. So you used to have to take the live workshop, and we made no exceptions for that rule. But then COVID came along and said, you are going to have virtual workshops from now on, Dawson, whether you like it or not. Now, I will say that we then had to design our virtual workshops to meet those same high standards of the American Medical Association and American Psychological Association. So we didn't just say, oh, we're going to put a camera in front of a trainer and that's a workshop. No. We went and we looked at a 10-year project by Harvard University on active and collaborative learning. We studied their methods. We've had a whole series of trainings with our trainers now where we're educating ourselves about this brilliant set of techniques called active and collaborative learning, and we're now implementing those in the workshops. So you aren't just getting a camera parked in front of a trainer. That's not a virtual workshop. That's just a passive experience. We're using active learning techniques now that are part of this 10-year Harvard project on showing how people really acquire new skills. Tapping has helped tremendously, and I get to work with a practitioner. I've been using scripts online, found online. Yeah, doing the inner work, and the outer life changes as you do inner work. Why not this? Why not now? Carl, I'm so sorry to hear about your injury to your face and that sensitivity. I would also get really detailed about that accident. What was happening that day you tripped? What were you thinking? What else was going on in your life? What stressors were they? Do they relate to your childhood? So I would go in that direction. I retired from a job that depleted me. That's Lisa Sporlater. Yeah. I'm such an introvert. So am I. I really am. I joke if I'd had my choice of a career path, I'd be a monk in a monastery, blissed out and blissbrain all the time. But I love sharing it with the world. I believe in energy healing. Many coaches have added EFT to their toolboxes. When does the program start? It starts the moment Jessica, that you sign up, you have immediate access to Module 1, and then we really get off the ground with that inauguration party November 6th, but you can start the course before then. So I'm going, before I hand the call back over to Jackie, I'm going to do a screen share of 3 or 4 screens here very briefly. And I'm going to show you a couple of things. So, Jackie, I'll turn this over to you and Jesse in just a moment over here. But this screen I'm sharing right now is the 48 essential core clinical EFT techniques. You know, people say emotional freedom technique, singular. It's techniques, plural. And count them. There are actually 48 techniques. And these are the techniques used in the research. These are the techniques in which we train you. You'll be a certified clinically EFT practitioners. Most people who learn EFT learn the basic recipe. It's only 9 techniques. If you learn both the basic recipe and the full basic recipe, all you've learned is a few techniques. You haven't even unlocked a quarter of what there is in clinical EFT. The foundational techniques include the 9 gamut, which people learn, the movie technique and tell the story technique, then aspects, really valuable set of techniques. Identifying target issues. It's essential you identify target issues correctly. Unless you're trained in this, you're doing superficial tapping, often the symptoms will return. The 3 gentle techniques to use for traumatized people, techniques with special populations, children, groups, cravings, phobias, physical symptoms, all of those, professional practice techniques, and a whole long list of those as well. Supplementary physical techniques like the collarbone breathing exercise, the floor to ceiling eye roll, and only in EFT Universe training are you going to get training in all 48 clinical EFT techniques. Also, you're a member of our private certification group online. You do session swaps with other people over here. There's a session swappers group over here. There are questions and observations posted every day. Here are some from the last weekend. Wonderful sharing that goes on over here among the practitioners. You're a member of that group. Then you're taking all of the modules in a learning management system, like an online college course. And so now I'm in the LMS. I'm in this program called The Basics of Coaching Psychology. It is a brilliant program. Again, we and team members I work with designed this coaching psychology course on its own, without even the rest of the certification. This coaching psychology course, we looked at the best ones in the world, and then we said, we're going to put together a world-beating coaching, the coaching psychology course. And we did. So videos in every module, illustrations, references to research here. You'll see research citations throughout. This is an evidence-based course. So there are case histories. Most other courses we found did not have enough cases in them. So all of this is what I'm now inside the virtual part of the course, and it is just brilliant. And then you are going to be taking a virtual workshop, and here's the schedule of virtual workshops. Here we have one in Germany, in Hamburg, in November. We have a virtual one next week with me. We'll have more virtual ones with me, with Naomi in Australia, with Jackie, also in California time, Jan Watkins, brilliant trainer on the East Coast. So there are lots and lots and lots of these courses. A whole bunch more will be going up on the website next month. So I think I'll leave it there for the time being. Yep, that's it, Jackie. I'm going to turn this over to you.
All right. And I'm seeing all your questions, so I'm dropping them in a little notepad and we'll get to them when we opened it to questions. So thanks for doing that. And some of them I might pitch to Jessie if she's on. I'm seeing if I can see you, Jessie. Wait for you to unmute yourself. But what I want to do is talk to one of our students who's doing the EFT program. And that way, you're not just hearing my biased opinion, but someone who's a student. And I have gone through the program, so it's not so biased. I can actually share from that perspective. And I will ask her some questions. I'll ask her some of the questions that you're sharing because she can probably answer that. Like, about the 4-day workshop, or if it's becoming more mainstream. I think those are great, which it totally is. So Jessie, are you on? I'll see if she's on here. And Dawson, if she might needs help unmuting herself, if she is. If not, I might talk to you, Kurt. Well, maybe I'll start talking to you, Kurt. Kurt's you graduated and actually became a mentor because he just was such a stellar student. When you get into the course, Kurt's one of the most organized students we had. He would cheat sheets for everyone and share them on our Facebook group. He put together a list of all the EFT workshops or EFT techniques that you learn at the workshop and put sample scripts, samples of it. So a lot of students share tools, but Kurt, you really stood out. So obviously we loved having you as a student. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I know I'm putting you on the spot.
It's all right. Here. It's all right.
But do you want to just share, where you live, why you signed up when you first signed up? Maybe what your vision was for how you would use this?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago. When I signed up, it was after a pretty significant health issue. Like I tore my Achilles tendon, and after that, I got something called complex regional pain syndrome. So it was like a degenerative nerve pain disorder and a malfunction of my central nervous system. So I started getting into, well, okay, how do you fix your central nervous system? And then I realized that was a subconscious process. And so I started asking myself, well, how do you consciously control a subconscious process? And I went down a 3 or 4 year rabbit hole trying to figure out and answer that question. But Dawson's work and his books, Genie in Your Genes, really started to speak to me. And so as I was putting my life back together, learning how to walk again and go to work, and I had to figure out how to manage stress, because any sort of additional stress would, I wouldn't walk, I'd be limping. It was kind of rough. So EFT helped me manage the day-to-day anxieties that I wasn't really able to manage before. And because it was so evidence-based and scientifically backed, I feel like I could explain it to the people in my life, because I'm not really from, my family, my friends weren't into energy healing or meditation or anything like that. I'm sort of an outsider from the group, but because of all the evidence-based things, I could explain it. And once people try it and it works, they no longer care about the science. Once they experience the results, they just want the results. But it opened the door for me. I mean, what is it? Science is the language of modern mysticism. I think Joe Dispenza might have said that one. Yeah. But it works. Science opens the door, and then the experience of it closes it and seals it. And it's just helped me. It's really just changed my life, really, to be honest. So I wanted to share. I did not know that that's
why you started. I did not know about the physical symptoms you came in with at all.
Yeah, 4 years ago, I couldn't sit up for if a breeze blew in through the window, I went to 12 on the pain scale. It was thousands of needles in the bottom of my foot. Now, I mean, EFT wasn't the only thing that made that go away. It was diet, it was exercise, it was sleep, it was meditation. It wasn't like the one magic bullet, but it's a pretty good bullet.
You talked about the science. So
I know some of the people in the chat are asking about, like, do you get access to those research and do you learn that in the course? What's something you would say that you didn't know going into the course that has become one of your favorite parts? Because that'll give an insight to what maybe we leave out in the descriptions. Is there something that you resonated with the most, or was your favorite part of certification that you hadn't read about or didn't expect when you were in their shoes going into it?
I mean, I'm kind of I read a lot and I listen to a lot. So before I was going to invest the money, I was going to know what it was going to be. So I read all the stuff in the course before I signed up for the course. But that's the thing, is like understanding it on an intellectual level is one thing, and experiencing it is another, you know. And I think that's the part that resonated with me when I got into the mentoring and doing the sessions with other people. When they felt better, like I felt better. And I was doing the sessions at the end of a day. I mean, I got 2 kids. I got a full-time job as a kind of a high pressure one, and a very visible in a high poverty school district with a lot of, I mean, those kids live hard lives and everybody feels it, you know. And I was doing this stuff at home at night after all that was done. And I felt better, you know, I slept better. And that's honestly what sticks with you. The science, I'm having a hard time remembering all the science, you know, because now I have the experience. So I got to hold on to the intellectual part that got me in, because the experiential part is just, it'll take you away.
You're actually a great person to speak into this because you have such a busy life and you're a parent. And I know a lot of the people I've talked to, that's the first thing they want to know. What's the time commitment? How much time do you put in a week? And I've been telling everyone, you know, if you do 2 lessons a week, that puts you on track. Some students do 5 lessons a week. So what was the time commitment for you like? Do you remember how long it would take you to do a lesson, or how long it took you to go from start to finish?
I don't remember the exact from, I mean, I would do it when I could at predictable times in which I knew I typically had downtime. I mean, I read a lot of books on habit formation, and one of the things that works the best for that is to start really tiny, but really consistent. People underestimate what they can accomplish in a year and are wildly overestimating what they can do in a day. And that's probably because they think they can do all kinds of stuff in the day and then they fail and they quit, right? So what I would do is, like, every time I get back from, I was always teaching this one class and I had a block of time. I was like, when I sit down at my computer, I open up a module and I work on it. And some days it was just open up the module and close the computer because it was enough. But other days, if I did it every single day, other days I would knock out a bunch. So it just kind of depended, but I used that tiny behavior trick and recipe to keep myself just doing something consistently every day. And it's pretty straightforward. You read the thing, you take the quiz, you move on to the next one. It's logical, it progresses. And you know, there's videos if you like videos, there's readings if you like the readings. You know, so however you learn the best, you can do it. You can do both, or you can like stick to a certain approach. And so, you know, you can do it. You have to, it is work and you have to be consistent, but it's not overwhelming, you know, but it's worth it. And anything that's worth doing, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So this isn't easy, but it's doable and it's approachable, and you feel supported throughout.
Such a good way of saying it. You know, it's the reason why we're one of the only accredited organizations. It's like, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get through some of the science and, you know, to actually work with people and put yourself out there, but it's all building that muscle you need. You're someone you didn't come from, you know, you're not a psychologist, you're not a nurse. And a lot of people hear that accreditation and go, oh, wait, do I have to have a psychology background? Do I have to have a healthcare background? You don't have that. So do you want to speak into that I know Lynn was asking, you know, are you credible after it? Can you develop a practice with this certificate? And I fall into this boat too, guys. I have a full practice. I can't take any more clients right now. And I'm not a psychologist. So do you want to speak into that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working on setting up I'm working on setting that up now for my practice for myself now. There was some after I finished. And so now that's one of the things that I've been working on. And I know that so I'm doing sessions with people for actual money. And when they give it, like I'm just clear on what this offers. And I'm clear, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist. But if you're struggling with anxiety or you're struggling with anything emotional stress that goes along with any sort of other issue, it's going to exacerbate the issue. And I know that from personal experience with my nerve pain disorder. Like if I'm upset about something for 3 days, I'm not walking by like Tuesday, you know? So, but if I use the tapping and I release that stuff, well, then my body returns to like homeostasis and it sort of fixes itself. So when I work with people, I like to make it clear to them that, listen, this really helps manage stress. It really helps manage anxiety. And when you feel better and release that stuff, well, then you start sleeping. And then, you got some energy to make your dinner. And you got some energy to go on that walk. And like, and that's what this is for. And there's for a number of other things, there's some other stuff that I'm really playing around with that I'm excited about, but primarily when I'm introducing to people, that's what I talk about is if you don't want to take a pill and you want to try something else that doesn't have side effects, I mean, it's worth a shot. Let's give it a shot. We can give it a run and see what happens.
Yeah, and that answers one of your questions. You're asking if it helps with lymphedema. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but with anything physically related, you'll learn in the first module what's going on in the body when we go into a stress state. So any negative emotions, and then you'll learn what are the positive side effects of when we reduce that, the body can come into homeostasis and heal. So in the 4-day workshop that's included in the course that you'll all go to, you'll do special practice on physical symptoms. And that one's always crazy because everyone's pain or physical symptoms, whether it's someone had a migraine in mine, it went away. Someone had chronic back pain for 10 years, it goes away, because what you're doing is you're engaging the body's natural healing mechanisms. So you'll definitely get to play with physical symptoms and ailments and see how that benefits. Okay, Kurt, I feel like, is there anything you want to share that I haven't asked that you wish you had known before you signed up, or you feel like you would want to say that I didn't ask?
Or if anybody have a question
No.
you'd like to ask, by all means, just type the question into chat.
Type a question to Kurt. You could put Kurt : and then I know that it's for that, and we can get some of those questions. And Jessie, I know Jessie's here, so if she can answer those too, you can pop in too and give us your answers. But I'll introduce you in a second too, Jessie. Yeah. So if anyone has questions for Kurt, I'm looking at other questions that have already been shared. Oh, wait, in the chat. Just drop it in the chat. Well, if you do, drop them in there. Kurt's still here, but I'll just briefly, do I have like 5 minutes to introduce Jessie and just ask her, because I feel like she can answer some of these questions that have already been asked too. Does that work? Jessie, are you here? You can just unmute yourself, or Dawson might unmute you, but she's another student.
Hi there.
Who you'll see in the program. Hey, Jessie.
Hi.
Just tell us where you're calling from and why what you use, how you use EFT, because I love how you're using it.
I am calling from, or I'm here from Santa Rosa, California, and I found EFT when I was looking for various practices to help me deal with my trauma. My husband and I lost our house in the 2017 wildfires here in Santa Rosa, and it really left me kind of reeling. I dug into and found EMDR therapy, and then remembered that Dawson was actually one of my clients at the gym. I'm a personal trainer by trade, and I remember just something clicked, like, oh, I remember that big booming laugh. What did he do again?
That crazy tapping thing.
A crazy tapping thing. And, you find things when you really need them at the time. A couple years prior to that, I probably could have used tapping, but didn't need it at the time. And I started tapping and thought, wow, I'm getting such relief with, some of these major traumas, but also, I have a little less hostility towards my dad, and my husband isn't bothering me as much. So tapping has really unlocked for me healing the wounds that bind us. And that's why I wanted to become a practitioner. I could really see with my personal training clients and my health coaching clients, there was just something else that wasn't allowing them to reach their best and highest potential. Whether for, a lot of us ladies struggle with weight, and that's typically something that we're holding on to from a past childhood wound. So tapping has a variety of things. I use it, I'm a softball coach as well. So I use it with my kids when they're getting into the batter's box and you can just see them kind of seize up with tension. How can we perform at our highest and best use, whether that's being the best mom we can be, or best dad, or best grandpa, or best, business person out in the world. So tapping has really unlocked a lot of past wounds that I've been able to tap on and heal, so I can really step into my best use and help others find the same.
Yes, and we're so happy you're here. And I just love that Kurt and Jesse are both here because they were so fun to mentor and work with. So if you have questions for either of them, just drop them in the chat and I'll ask. But some of the questions that were coming in were about, and Jesse or Kurt, you can both take these. Jesse's a great person to ask about working with kids, working with adolescents and teens. That's something we go into in the 4-day workshop of how you can vary it for them. And Kurt's obviously a great person to ask about working with physical symptoms. And they're both great to ask of how you start a practice and pitch yourself and work when you're not a psychologist. So those are all things. I'm looking at the chat. Let's see. One thing, Jesse, that I'd love to ask you is that I think would help is, a lot of people have been asking, well, can I just start tapping with people? Why do I just read a book? What's the difference between, moving into certification versus just reading it? Like, what's really the benefit of getting certified and having that clinical certification? So how do you feel like it's changed the way you work with those adolescents? And
Great question. It's definitely given me more confidence. Clinical EFT, which is what we call it by going through the certification course, really allows you to understand tapping an EFT from all angles. You can certainly get on a YouTube video, or, there's wonderful resources out there, even with apps that are available. And you find that those work well, but they kind of only get to that surface level. So clinical EFT, if you're working with people that have deep traumas or wounds, to avoid that re-traumatization, it really gives you the tools to walk you through so that you're a confident practitioner to field questions or things that come up, or someone can come in feeling like, oh, I'd love to make more money. And all of a sudden they're in tears over the trauma from their childhood that you had no idea that was coming. So it really gives you a wonderful foundation to address those things and refer out if you don't know. There are certain things that come up where you have a deep bench of people in your practitioner bag that you can refer to. So it really allows you to understand the holistic person and go deep and wide with your understanding as a practitioner for any of those issues that might come up. And some people might find that they get great results. So I feel great after a round of tapping, but they really haven't knocked down those other legs, we'll call them. So the trauma kind of resurfaces or tabletops. And these are some words that you'll find throughout your certification of why those things will stay there and how they'll show up in other ways. So you haven't really healed that space.
Yeah, that's what I found. Like when I first learned it, you're working on what you think is root issues, but you really learn how to get into those traumas, and not just anyone can tap on that trauma, but to do it in a safe way where you're not re-traumatizing, where you're actually maybe causing more guards to go up, more dissociation to happen. So how do we keep the body and nervous system a really safe space so that we're actually moving the trauma out of the physical body and not just putting up a harder wall so we feel better about it. So yeah, the trauma piece is huge. And just like raise your hand, do a little hand raise if you want to work with trauma, and that's why you're in the course. That's why I got into it too, is I really like working with adults with childhood trauma that are at the root of anxiety and fear patterns.
You could raise your hand using that reactions button at the bottom of the screen. And if you
or you can just show me.
yeah, you can actually raise a real physical hand.
And then for either of you, how do you guys pitch yourself to people? What are some of the things you do? We actually went through this at the 4-day workshop of we collected all the ways we explain what we do. How do you guys pitch what you do? That's a nice question from Sean.
Yeah, people are really uncertain about various energy practices, I think just in general. As a health coach and a personal trainer working on the physical body, or, history of working in the physical body, this kind of blends nicely. I like to call it just an emotional acupuncture. A lot of people have experience with that. A way that you can do it on your own that can be very quick, can be done, a tool under the table if you're in a boardroom. So I explore the option with them. If it's a health coaching client that I'm working with and we blend these practices in, being very, forthright of what we're doing, is just, hey, do you mind if we try something out? If you don't feel comfortable with it, we'll certainly take another path. So I've blended mine in with my current, my clients now. And it's worked nicely because I've built that trust with them. They know who I am. It's an easy way to blend and flow. So that's worked well for me, is starting with my current base and kind of branching off into that.
Which was a lot of your practice clients. So a lot of you will just swap with each other to accrue those 40 hours of sessions that you need and are reviewed by your mentor. But some of you, if you already have clients, you can start integrating it. That's what I did as well, Jesse. That's great. And I found, I don't know, over the last 3 years, people do not bat an eye at EFT. It's so popular. Something about the Heal documentary coming out. I don't know if you've watched that. Gabby Bernstein wrote her book on EFT, so that brought like a younger generation in. Dawson's books, I have more people who call me who just read that book, close it, go to the EFT Universe website, and there's your practitioner listing right there. So over the last 2-3 years, it's really changed. And I'll let you answer that, Kurt, too, but I just want to answer it because it's changed so much over the last 2 years. I feel like it's really important to share just how the dynamic is. And I know I'm in California, so a lot of you might say, oh, well, it's different in California, which it is, but I'd say 60% of my clients don't live in California. They're calling from the Midwest. They're calling and they're literally saying, there's no one in my area, but I saw that you do digital work. So since you're on our practitioner listing, they're not really searching by location, especially now. They're just searching by specialty. So, anxiety, childhood trauma, sexual abuse. Okay, there she is. LA, I don't care that I'm in Germany, right? They're calling you because they want someone who is passionate about the topics they want to work on. And that goes for you guys too. So the way I talk about it is, now when people say, are you a therapist? And I say no, some of them are like, oh, okay, good, because I've done that for years and it hasn't really helped. And I want something that goes deeper and addresses the root cause. So I tell people, I'm like, the session is like where we're talking in the beginning about the issue, but then instead of reframing or coming up with how we want to deal with our issues or how we want to reframe our childhood, we actually release the emotional weight that we've carried from childhood, so we don't feel affected by it anymore. So we don't have to think through how to overcome it. We just actually feel like we've overcome it. Like we no longer are holding that. We're suddenly showing up in a different way because we're not carrying that emotional weight anymore. It's not in us, literally. Kurt, do you want to share how you explain it? And if you've ever worked with the elderly, you can comment on that too, because I know Joanna wanted to know.
No, not, I mean, like when I was going through and doing the swapping sessions, I mean, all ages, all colors, all creeds, so there were times where I was working with people in their 70s and, and there were times when I was working with people in their 20s, and it applies to a broad range of people and a broad range of topics. I have found that when you start to do it professionally, you can be everything to everyone if you'd like, but it helps to specialize in a certain group or a certain population, which you make the most sense to. So once I started to narrow in on high achieving people who are experiencing anxiety or performance issues, or then it started to really help. And honestly, I got a couple people, I did them for free. and then they told their friends. And I made enough money now that I got to take down my self-made website and hire a real professional website designer. So it's baby steps, you know, but I've only been out there certified for a little bit. So I have gotten people by specializing in a certain area, and then word of mouth has gotten me to the point where I'm able to start branching forward and up. So, I mean, I didn't graduate with a Rolodex, and that's a super old term, but like a Google contact sheet full of like potential clients, but I had enough to start. And more importantly, I knew that what I was doing was good and it worked and it was backed up and I could explain it. And if given the opportunity, once people feel it work, then, you know, it works. And so then they start to see. So, but the science gets you in and the results get you the rest of the way. And it's a process, but it's a process that, you know, I'm enjoying, and it's a process of growth. And I'm still new, but I'm hoping it's looking up. And, you know, when you start to get overwhelmed with, man, I don't know how to make a website. I don't know how to do an intake form. I don't know how to do this. I've never talked to that type of person. Well, there's a good thing to do, and you can tap on it, or, you know, you can tap with the people that you're helping, and you just naturally feel better and more balanced anyway. So that's, you know, specialize, 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 and that's just follow your heart and follow your passion. Like, I'm kind of an overachieving, intense person naturally. This has helped me soften that edge, and I've gotten more productive because that edge is actually softened, which is, you know, a touch ironic, but that's kind of the good irony that we like, right?
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I could keep asking you guys these questions. We'll keep trying to answer them in the chat, and at the end, Dawson's going to go through the modules, and I'll explain mentoring and what I did with Kurt and Jesse. But thank you guys so much for contributing. If you still have questions, they can stay on a bit and answer those in the chat. So
and thank you both so much. Thank you, Jesse and Kurt. Thank you, Jackie. And as you can tell, we're all wildly enthusiastic and having a really good time with this as well. In fact, when we were planning the movement of the certification program to being virtually and online, we said one of our primary goals was, how can we make this fun? So the whole fun is like just woven into the skills practice calls, into the Facebook group, and it's just a wonderful supportive experience, and it is fun. And what I've done actually while you've been sharing there, Jackie, is I collected all the questions that you haven't answered in chat. There are 3 or 4 of them. I'll answer those now, then I'll run through the modules. But then, Jackie, if you can, and Jesse, if you can just keep on answering new questions in chat, don't worry about the old ones I've gone through. I just culled the few that we hadn't already answered. I'm going to quickly answer them now, then I'll run through the program.
and I can share about mentoring too.
Okay, so Lynn is asking about, is October 30th the deadline? Can we register off of that date? No, you need to register by October 30th so that we can start the class together. We really, if you join a class and people are straggling in and out, it doesn't work well. We found that it's much better to have a cohort, have everyone start that first week in November and then finish over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Kelly, does EFT Universe help refer clients? Absolutely. We have one of the most high traffic sites on the web. We have a publicist who's promoting us all the time. We have hundreds of podcasts, news stories, TV shows, all kinds of PR going on all the time. Our website gets over 30,000 visitors, unique visitors every month. So we have a huge promotional presence, and I'll share my screen here for you. And so you will be listed as a certified practitioner on our practitioner listings. And again, these get tens of thousands of hits a month. You'll also be eligible to list yourself on Tapping Place. So over here, if I'm a client and right now I'm suffering from a panic attack, right now, I need someone right now, I don't have time to make an appointment with my busy practitioner who's booked up until November 24th. Well, here I go, and I can just tap with Bev Narenberg right now. And there's Sarah Best on there as well. So this is just amazing that we have this platform called Tapping Place, and this is totally unique. We spent about 3.5 years building this. It's an amazing resource now, and clients can work with practitioners anytime. And practitioners make, for the hours they spend working with clients, which again is not every hour they're on Tapping Place. You might be on Tapping Place for 4 hours, maybe on there for 10 hours. Maybe you're doing your emails, you're writing your blog post, and you just make Tapping Post live. You hear a little sound, someone comes on, you do a session. You may do a few of those in the course of a week or a month, but you make this part of your regular routine. But we figured out that the average payout that practitioners are making on Tapping Place for the actual hours they spend is $96 an hour. So they're making a little bit under $100 an hour for those client hours on Tapping Place. So you're both on the website and you're also on Tapping Place. Then another question over here was to do with international recognition of your certification. I'd like to work with clients in Europe. I live in the US, but not indefinitely. So, Elizabeth, there are people who work with clients all over the world. We have a practitioner in Hong Kong who works with clients in her time zone. So she works with people in Australia, some people in Europe, some in the Middle East. We have a lot of practitioners in New Zealand and Australia. They work with people in that time zone. We have many in Europe. And so virtually all of our clients have at least a few international clients beyond. Virtually all of our practitioners have a few clients who are in countries other than their own. So it doesn't limit you. And your credential as a practitioner is usually going to be recognized as well elsewhere. Andrea, different question. So you are a licensed mental health practitioner. You have a clinical social work license, but it's expired. So you would practice as a coach, as a life coach or as a health coach. And so you can practice as a coach. And again, there are a lot fewer restrictions on coaches than there are on licensed mental health professionals. If you are licensed and you have not let your license expire, then you would work as a licensed mental health professional. If you let it expire, if you're no longer in that field, then you work as a life coach. So that's all the questions up till now. Again, post them in the chat there. And I'm going to run through the structure of the certification program really, really quickly to show you what they are. So module 1, it's a video and text course. It's called The Genetics of Personal Transformation. It's based on my book, The Genie in Your Genes, and there are 12 lessons, 12 sections to it. Earlier, I showed you what those look like. Here's the coaching psychology one, and you see all of your lessons here, and also the quizzes you pass as you go through the program. Module 2 is based on the EFT manual. And again, it has 12 modules, and you actually are trained here in all 48 techniques. But again, this is a virtual online program. Then you take a course in professional ethics. That was created by ACEP co-founder Dorothy Hova-Kramer and Don Eden and David Feinstein. And we have a common ethics program with Eden Energy Medicine. So they use the same 2 textbooks that we use. Really powerful to learn about how to have healthy boundaries, energetic boundaries, legal boundaries, and be an ethically aware professional. I mentioned earlier the psychology of coaching. We used to use a really excellent course from another company for this. We looked around at all the coaching psychology courses, found the very best one. We used to use their course, but then our editor was saying, well, you know, their course is good, but it has no case histories, it has no neuroscience. So she said, let's build our own coaching psychology course. And we literally took the best one in the world, used it for a few years, then replaced it with ours, which has all the things that theirs didn't have, and it's neuroscience based. It's the neuroscience of how people's brains change. Then we have several videos in the art of delivery. You will also be taking the EFT 4-day professional skills training. That's a live virtual course. There are trainers who are still doing it in person as well. So if you'd like to do one with Jan Watkins on the East Coast, Kripalu, it'll be at Omega next year. It may be at Esalen again in 2021. So it's at various teaching centers, and you can do it in person if you prefer. I can tell you it's pretty wonderful to be at Esalen and be soaking in the hot tubs at night and eating gourmet vegetarian food and going through the course. So you may want to choose that option, or you can do it virtually if you'd like to. But we'll drill you in those 48 clinical EFT techniques during that live session. And then mentoring is broken up into 4 parts: mentoring 1, mentoring 2, mentoring 3, mentoring 4. And so mentoring 1, and you'll really start working with your mentor when you finish module 4, the psychology of coaching. At that point, you'll sign a mentoring agreement, which will lay out the parameters of mentoring. And you will have access to all kinds of mentoring materials, mentoring cheat sheets, mentoring learning objectives. And so Kurt, Jesse, Jackie, and others have put together this really comprehensive mentoring program for you. And so mentoring 1 is called Healing the Past Through the Present. You write up 10 case histories. Your mentor gives you feedback at several stages along the journey. You also complete 5 hours of personal work on your own issues. Healing the past through the present. Number 2, mentoring 2, is memory reconsolidation. And this is this amazing new discovery in neuroscience that we reconsolidate memories after treatment in a whole new way in our brains. Mentoring 3 is covering the professional practice techniques. So these are following that list of the 48 clinical EFT techniques. And this is the segment of that list on professional practice. And then finally, refining your skills. Your final 10 case histories are those skills that your mentor notices you need extra work in developing. Then you do a brief course, module 6, called Energy, Trauma, and Healing. And it's all on the latest research on psychological trauma, the neuroscience of that, how to treat it with energy therapies. And this course is written by some really distinguished guest faculty: David Feinstein, Mary Seiss, who was the past president of ASAP, Fred Gallo, he's a psychologist. He coined a term in the early 1990s, I think 1992, and Fred invented this term, energy psychology. He's one of your guest faculty during the Energy, Trauma, and Healing course. Dorothea Hover-Kramer is one of your guest faculty there, Alina Frank. You have some really great people who are training you in that online course. And they show you how to apply energy therapies. This is a group at Esalen. In fact, there's Jackie. There's my wife, Christine, at Esalen. And then you graduate, and graduation is actually a module. And it's things like where you get insurance. There are 3 insurance companies that insure our practitioners for a really modest fee. I think it's usually around, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but I think it's usually under $200 a year. Then they provide liability insurance for our practitioners. So it's where you buy insurance. It's how you list yourself on EFT Universe, how you list yourself on Tapping Place. So systematically, you get all of that in the learning management system. And then I mentioned the payment plans there. We have those 2 payment plans, either single payment of $4,000 or 12-month payment plan. So with that, I'm going to stop my screen share here. Again, if you have any other questions, put them into chat. We'll make sure we answer them now. Either we'll answer them in chat, or we'll answer them. I'll just share, either I or Jackie will just share the answers with you.
And a lot of you are asking about the lessons and curriculum. So I dropped the curriculum guide that we have in the chat. If you just scroll up, you'll see a document. It's the EFT certification curriculum. And yeah, And yes, the 4-day workshop is included. The 2-day practice intensive is included. And oh, Dawson is showing you on the screen the bag that you'll all get. We'll send you a bag with a notebook, a pen, just so you can feel connected. There's a water bottle holder in there. So if I didn't answer your question and we didn't see it, don't think we're ignoring you. Just post it again. It means I got lost in this vibrant chat over here.
These are the bags we're sending you after you enroll, and they've said that beautiful logo says Happy Tapper on the side here. Anyway, the company making them mailed me the sample, but it's been hard to hold on to it because everyone who's visited my house in the last 2 or 3 weeks since the bag arrived has tried to steal this bag. It's a laptop bag, but it has all these compartments inside and space for headphone jack to go in here as well, so you can carry it on your shoulder and use your headphones. It's a really gorgeous bag, and its popularity has been such that I've had a hard time holding on to it here. So we'll mail you out a bag as soon as you enroll. You'll also get a second bag of goodies when you do the 4-day professional workshop.
Yes. Okay, I'll just answer some of these questions. I'll go over mentoring, but enrollment is open. So some of you are asking, when's it open? When does it start? So it starts whenever you enroll, actually. So the last day to enroll is October 30th. If you want to enroll on your own on the website, you can do the full tuition plan or the 12-month plan. And so some students enrolled when we first opened a week ago, so they're already on lesson 4. So whenever you enroll, you get your login details, which is fun. We have a live call. We have 2 monthly live calls. So our October live call, we're covering how to use EFT for panic and anxiety. If you want to enroll before then, that's the 23rd at 4 p.m. Pacific. So you can access the course immediately and get in with our student body and get on that Q&A call with us. So if you have questions about those live calls, drop it in the chat. The enrollment link's right on our page, and Dawson just dropped it in the chat. But it looks like 18 of you already enrolled on the call. So congratulations, Carrie and Candace and Beth and Helena and Dawn and Andy. We need some more guys. These are all women's names. If there's any gentlemen, be the first guy. We'll have to give you like a special gift. Charlene and Catherine. Oh, it's so amazing. I can't wait to meet you guys on the live call. So let's see. So when it comes to those live calls, actually, I'll say that just as I wait for any last questions to come in. But I'm so excited that over a dozen of you just enrolled. That'll be fun to see you. And we'll also have a bonus live call for you guys. We'll have a welcome party the week after enrollment closes, so you can all meet as a class. But the live calls that we do, it's everyone who's in the course. So there might be students who are ahead of you. And what we do is we pick topics like working with teens, body image, working with clients who don't want to get over their problems. We pick topics that you guys create on a list. And Dawson usually shares some of the science, and I'll share strategies of how to work with them. And then we open it up. And unlike this call where we're keeping you kind of muted, you're actually really engaged. You're unmuting yourself, asking questions, sharing case studies. Since it's a smaller group, we're able to do that. On this call, this call would be 3 hours if we unmuted and heard each question. There's usually like 20 people on that live call at a time, even though we probably have 100 or 200 people who could be in the call. So yeah, and then we do a second live call a month where we actually tap together. So for an hour, we tap together on your own issues. So some of you are sharing some concerns you have or charging money. I shared in the chat, the average rate is $150 to $300 an hour. I make all my students charge at least $150. So you can be tapping through resistance to do that. So you're getting to tap each month, and you're getting to come together a second time each month. And all of those are recorded if you can't make it live. So that's the live calls that we do. And then the mentoring process, we really love giving you guys feedback so you can work with other students. Most students meet each other on those live calls, and I'll always say, hey, share your email in the chat if you want to keep tapping through your blocks. And that's how you can get those session hours. If you aren't ready to work with practice clients, you can work with each other. So I hope that answers that. Do you want me to say anything else about mentoring, Dawson? you covered it a bit.
No, I think we've covered enough for this call, and I would like to wrap up
Yeah.
because people
Mhm.
are needing to move on and put the kids to bed or have dinner or whatever it is you're going to do next. I've so appreciated the opportunity to connect with everyone. Thank you for being here. Can you? I guess you can just tell we're having a wonderful time in this process. We're having a wonderful time. We're also experiencing deep self-healing. I know I'm no longer that scared 15-year-old who was so depressed and anxious that he couldn't deal with the world. I just love waking up happy and balanced every day and knowing we're doing something that is genuinely helping people, that's really helping people get over both physical and emotional problems. You'll see the people around you, your friends, your family, your colleagues, start to change as well because you change. You don't have to change anybody else, just change yourself. It's self-transformative. That's why the very first two groups of lessons are called self-transformative energy tools. They are really focused on self-transformation. When you focus on self-transformation, automatically you produce emotional contagion in those around you, and they start to get happier as well. And you're a force for good and kindness and compassion in the world. So that's why we're just beyond excited about this. Would love to share with you. If you're undecided, book a call with Jackie, or maybe you have an email exchange that might be with Kurt or Jesse, but go ahead and book a call at the bottom of that registration page. And Jackie's actually put her email address right there in chat. So you can email her or simply schedule a call via her scheduling link. And again, I so appreciated when I read in the chat here, I will take it into prayer, Andrea said, and listen to my heart. That's really what we ask you to do. Listen to your heart, and your heart will tell you if this is the right time, the right place to have a home-based career where you're waking up in the morning, you're setting your own hours, you're seeing people from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to get clients. You can just be on Tapping Place or be a practitioner, and clients come to you. Many of our practitioners are making $100 an hour and up. If that kind of life direction feels to you, making a good living for yourself from home, while you genuinely help other people and the world, if when you hear those words, if your heart's saying yes, 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 you know it's for you, and it will. Your heart will tell you if it's for you. So again, make that appointment, talk to Jackie, and get those questions answered, and then make a commitment. So before I finish or move into a huge project, if I have something really big like this I'm trying to decide on, I tap about it, I sit with it, I listen to my heart, but then I also tap away my resistance. So if you have something that's just holding you back, some old part of you that's been holding you back, do that tapping and then get clear. And once your energy system is clear and balanced, then ask for guidance, and usually your heart and your destiny will reveal themselves. So our destiny has been to share this last 90 minutes together. Thank you so much for being here. You know what to do next. Book a call with Jackie. If you know you're meant to enroll, just enroll. Just hit that enroll now button and choose either the payment plan or the full payment option, and just jump in and be with us. I'll see you at the inauguration party on November 6th. Make sure you do complete your enrollment by October 30th when enrollment ends. And again, we are in this wonderful family community of consciousness together. We are making a difference in the world. Just by our awareness, the way we live our lives, we are making a difference, and we're only just getting started. For every practitioner who graduates, that means thousands of people heal. Thousands of people have better lives. Thousands of people have less pain, less traumatic stress, less anxiety and depression. We are those people. We're the people who are called to make that huge difference in the world. I'm so honored to be one of them with you. Thank you, and I'll see you on the other side of the program.